What is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD Once here, back here on PlayStation Source, and this is, of course, Road to PS5, Episode 2, the weekly podcast series about any and all things PS5 as we head towards the release of the PlayStation 5. And with me, of course, my luxurious co-host, the Arachnate. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Bro, we had a pretty strong monsoon last night.
We didn't get anything over where I live.
Oh, really?
Nothing.
Bro, we got rocked. Millie rocked. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. It's been twice this week already. The first time this week, I was leaving work, bro, and pretty substantial tree branches and limbs of trees and stuff like that were falling in front of me as I was driving. Where if I were going faster, I would have probably hit one, for real. It was pretty aggressive for sure.
The worst thing we've gotten is some loud thunder and some moderate winds, but almost no rain, which makes me upset.
Right.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Monsoon season, man. It hit late this year. It hit
very late this year.
I feel like July is usually the peak of right? But late August, oh well, it is what it is. Well, this is of course Road to PS5. You can catch us over here on youtube.com/PlayStation Source, as well as your favorite podcast service every Sunday by hitting the anchor link down below to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, and any other major podcast service, or by just searching PlayStation Source podcast feed. To support the show, you can of course like and subscribe, as well as become a member of the channel by hitting the join button or the link in the description. The Prince tier and the King tier are $1 and $5 respectively. They give you access to different channel badges, emojis, as well as shoutouts and all PSS content, just like the homie Caleb, Bashful Brody, and I believe Owen is also a King tier as well this month. I forgot, but if he isn't, Owen's still a cool dude that deserves a shout out anyway. Of course, follow us on other social media platforms down below in the description. So those are Discord, Twitter, and of course that anchor link, like we said before, as well as Arachnite's links down below as well. If you want to pimp your stuff, Arachnite, by all means.
Just Twitter and Twitch.
the old TNT, if you will.
The old TNT. I am on twitch.tv/thearachnite. I am also on Twitter at Orly_Macias. Just, the cool and casual video games, comic books, the occasional superhero discussion, but yeah, I try to keep it chill on my social media, and I talk about popcorn. Did you see my latest tweet? It's my most popular tweet ever, and it's about fucking popcorn.
I didn't wait. Oh my! Now I'm intrigued. Is it on Orly_Macias?
Yeah, it's on my Twitter. It's the only Twitter account I have.
Yeah, we're gonna. I thought you have an Arachnite one too.
I did. I used it for a little bit to talk about comic books more exclusively because I didn't want to drown. My followers in comic book talk, but yeah, no.
Oh my god, this tweet is awesome. I implore everyone to go right now and look at the tweet with the caption, "I miss you more every day."
It's about popcorn.
I won't give any more time. I won't give any more context because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But this was posted on August 20th at 2:26 in the morning, mind you. This is superb content. This is the content you love to see right here. This is what I'm talking about.
I was playing Warframe at like you said 2 in the morning with a friend of mine, and I was like, I miss. We have a specific movie theater, a branch of movie theaters that are local to I think Arizona and California. I'm not sure if they're anywhere else, but the popcorn they have hits different. It's the best movie theater popcorn I've ever had.
Harkins popcorn, because you are talking about Harkins, right?
Yes, of course.
Harkins does hit different. I've always felt that Harkins popcorn is superior to the AMC, if you will. You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's just every time I go to the movies, and when before the pandemic, I went to the movies at least every other week.
Damn, it's a lot.
Yeah, no, I love movies. So I would always get like
definitely.
a large bag of popcorn, extra large bag of popcorn, and just like I would look forward to it all day. It's like
For
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely. For me, I would always do the trio. You know what I'm saying? Because number one, step one, you got to get the popcorn.
Of
Come
course.
on now. Like, what are you, a communist?
No.
But you know what I'm saying? You would gotta get the popcorn, right? Step two, right? You gotta get the Coke.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
At least for me personally.
I was always a Harkins like loyalty member, so
Did you? Oh,
popcorn
with the
and
cups?
drink. Yeah.
Oh my
Well, I also had like the popcorn stuff.
oh, damn.
So with
Oh, I never
popcorn
had
and
the
a
popcorn
drink,
stuff.
popcorn and a drink, I think I spent at most $5.
Yeah, you see, that's definitely the way you do it if you're going frequently as you are. Definitely
Yeah.
makes sense. For sure, for sure. You know, even though I'm not particularly the biggest fan of soda, you gotta get the Coke with the popcorn. You know, you gotta get the yin and the yang, the sweet and the salty. You know what I'm saying? You gotta balance it out, right? But I like a little more sweet. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit more. You know, I like a little more crunch, a little more sweet. That's where the Skittles come in for the third. You know, because you ever take a Skittle and take a popcorn, just eat them both at the same time. It's phenomenal. You know, I miss that honestly. I really do.
Oh
I
yeah,
really do.
no.
I really do. I really do. I really do. You, man. Oh well. But heard that you were playing some Warframe. Have you been
Yeah.
playing anything else besides Warframe? You know, do you have anything else to write home about with Warframe this week that you've been playing?
Just the grind.
Mm.
Like so Warframe, do you remember the star chart?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So they've added a lot more to the star chart throughout the last few years. Like quests and other things. And in order to do something called I believe it's called an arbitration to get a valuable resource, you have to clear out the entire star chart. Like every node
like
on
the-
every planet.
Wow. Huh.
So that's what I did in the span of I think 2 days.
Well, congratulations, good sir.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
no. In the last 2 weeks, I have put in, according to Steam, 105 hours.
Jeez, man. I do want. So now, do you know if the clock is a does it run even when you have like the main menu open, or is it strictly on gameplay?
From the
if
minute
that
you
makes
launch
sense.
the game to the minute you close it is when the clock runs.
Okay, so it's application open time. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Which I mean, I'm not trying to downplay you. That's still a lot of hours, regardless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, damn.
I don't.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah, but like the reason I like reliably count on it because other than like getting up and getting a drink, if something's open on my computer, I tend to use it. I don't like leaving like things like just on for the sake of having them on because it it uses the computer for unnecessary reasons. So I try to like at the end of the night or if I'm going somewhere in the day, like I always just close everything or just turn my computer off and then go just to avoid anything.
Makes sense. It makes sense for sure. Makes sense. Beautiful. Well, Warframe still treating you well in these stay at home times. Anything else besides Warframe you've been getting into this week?
Honestly, like nothing in particular. I just reinstalled the Division 2. I might go through that again.
Dude, I love Division 2, bro.
Yeah,
oh, man. There you go.
I wanted to do another run through on it on the new hardware. See how that's treating me. And some Apex.
Nice. We actually played Apex as well on Joyclicks.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did as
How'd it
well,
go?
Yeah. Better. We didn't win any matches, but I think that everyone's performance. I think at least you know what, I can't speak for everyone else. I personally was still pleased with, even though I haven't touched Apex since like season 4. That I was able to still like hold my own somewhat in the matches. Like I wasn't completely not doing anything. You know, like I was still getting kills and stuff like that here and there. You know, so that felt rewarding overall. But we did not unfortunately get a win. So
yeah, I've only won one match in season 6, but I made it to the final 3 a handful of times. Like I popped off one game and got like 10, 11 kills. I was really hyped with that. Like that was my first game of season 6. I was like, oh yeah, like we're back in it. We're back in it.
Back at it like a bad habit. I see what you mean. I did a big thing yesterday, Iraq Night.
What'd you do?
You know what I'm saying? As you know, the previous Road to series that we just came off of course, Road to Ghost of Tsushima. If you guys missed that, there's a full playlist on youtube.com/PlayStation where you can check out every episode of Road to Ghost of Tsushima. Very, very successful Road to series. Liked it a lot. Big fan of it. And big fan of the game, of course. You know what I'm saying? I reached the end of the road, Iraq Knight. I did secure the platinum for Ghost of Tsushima.
Ooh.
It was a very endearing experience, you know? I'm truly gonna miss it. It was my first platinum that I ever went for, actually. I have 2 platinums technically, but the first one was from Telltale Tales from the Borderlands. So that one you just get for just beating the game, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't like. Like, I enjoy Tales from the Borderlands for sure, but it is kind of weird that that's my first ever platinum. I wish it was this Ghost of Tsushima, you know?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Like, Telltale's Walking Dead Season 4 had, it was a different structure where you had to actively like search out things to do in each episode to get the plat instead of just finishing the story and then getting the plat. Which
okay,
I get,
so yeah, I got you. So
yeah,
so season 4,
yeah, they changed that up.
They made the platinum matter for sure. Okay,
yeah,
I see that. But nonetheless, that was a great experience. What have I been doing other than that? I've been playing more Hyperscape, man. I gotta tell you, it's growing on me, bro. It's growing on me. I don't know what's going on. I'm learning it more. I'm actually really liking it, you know. Once you get used to it, you know, once you tweak those controls, and I know at least, so they put out a new game mode. So they put out a trailer next to that new game mode that they launched on Hyperscape. And a lot of the comments under that trailer were saying, you know, and complaining about the controller sensitivity and the controller just overall just feel of it being off on the console version. So it's clear that that message is getting portrayed to Ubisoft. So hopefully it will get addressed in the future. Hopefully very near future, you know. But I've been able to tweak it to a degree where I think it is probably the best it can be at this point. And for me, it's definitely been a lot more playable than our first stream that we did back on Joyclicks, you know. So yeah. It's been going well. Definitely enjoying the meta. Definitely liking the weapons, stuff like that. Like definitely getting a strategy and stuff like that. Haven't won yet. Haven't won a crown. Just like I haven't won another crown in Fall Guys. I'm just out here hunting for crowns left and right, you know, in these battle royales. But overall, I'm still enjoying Hyperscape. Definitely enjoying it a lot more as time goes on and stuff like that. But I don't think I've played. Oh my god, I forgot. I beat God of War this week. Yeah. Oh, how did I forget about that? If you guys were, you know, questioning God of War's masterpiece, don't. It's still a masterpiece. It's still phenomenal. Yeah. 10 out of 10. Great game. Definitely still shines as, I think, still the game of the generation overall, all things considered. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still probably game of the generation in terms of like the console space. But yeah, that was great. And yeah, we'll keep on playing and we'll check in next week on episode 2. But this is of course we'll check in next week on episode 3. But of course this is episode 2. The PS5 specs versus the Xbox Series X specs, right? I definitely wanted to do this with you because you're more of a PC enthusiast, I feel like. You are definitely one that is more knowledgeable of the hardware. I feel like I have a definitely like a medium, like if we're counting like the average knowledge as like a medium stake, I'm like a medium well. You know what I'm saying? you're like a well done. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what you're talking about when it comes to I guess I should go in reverse order, because well steak is crap.
Yeah,
you know.
that's a tire.
Yeah, I should go. So I feel like I'm more of like a medium rare. You know, maybe a little bit more than the average person, but probably not by much. But you, I feel like you are, you know, like a blue rare steak. You know what I'm saying? You just know what's going on.
I enjoy computers, yeah.
Precisely. But before we get to that, I got a few things I want to throw your way involving PS5. But one is a quick little interstitial. If you guys are familiar with Road to Part 2, our other Road to series dedicated to Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2, leading up, that ended a few weeks back, we had a segment on that Road to Part 2 series called Chelsea Watch. Of course, dedicated to Chelsea Tavares, how she announced that she was a character in Last of Us Part 2. We were all wondering who she was. So me, and no, mainly me, started tweeting at her like every week, trying to get the answer out of her. You know what I'm saying? Who was she? And she, of course, ended up being, oh my
Nora.
God. Thank you, Nora. Thank you. Yeah, Nora in The Last of Us Part 2. Great performance. All that great stuff, you know what I'm saying? But she announced this in a tweet on the week of this week of recording. She says, "God gave me 2 dreams about you. Can't wait to meet you." With, of course, showing her belly bump. She's indeed pregnant, you know. So I sent out a put in source tweet, you know, from your friends at Road to Part 2 series, me at the KDs123 and Orly_Macias. Congrats. She replied, "Thank you." So just figured I'd throw a little congratulations, you know, vocally. You know what I'm saying? You love to see a queen, you know, get to bring new life into the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure she could be an excellent mother. You know what I'm saying? So a big congratulations to Chelsea Tavares on you know, Chelsea Watch. Should we just carry over Chelsea Watch? Are we just gonna keep it going?
Hey, that's up to you, man. I'm enjoying the show.
I know I no longer have a question for her, but you know what? If there's anything major in Chelsea Watch, we'll bring it up. You know what I'm saying? No longer a weekly thing. Just out, you know what I'm saying? If it's, I would consider her a friend of the show. Has she ever acknowledged the show directly? No. But hey, I mean,
she has responded.
she has responded multiple a time is all I'm saying, you know. So congratulations to Chelsea on the old pregnancy. Hope it all goes smoothly, you know what I'm saying? And congrats. Now, on news this week, we got a few things about PS5. The first one here, of course, I did a dedicated stream to that where you can watch the full recap of it. But essentially what we got is the first PlayStation 5 ad campaign trailer. Did you get a chance to watch it, Iraq Knight?
I did.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? Where we had that girl walking on ice, you know what I'm saying? Shooting a bow, stuff like that. Fun fact about that trailer, actually, there were some parts of that trailer that they said that were filmed in her apartment that she sent over, which is interesting. So, pretty cool stuff right there. Of course, they're trying to adapt to COVID and all that. But how'd you feel about what we heard? Nothing really new about it. You know, we just heard that, of course, they focused this first ad push on the DualSense features, featuring, of course, haptic feedback, the adaptive triggers, and the other thing. Oh, man. I have a postcard somewhere that will tell me, but I forgot. Oh, this is embarrassing. What was the third thing that they said? Phil Air, Aragnite. How'd you feel about this trailer before I find the third thing?
I thought it was solid. I'm more focused on like what they discussed and the visuals surrounding it. Like a lot of the time, these kinds of trailers are just like they err on the side of the cinematic, which I understand the appreciation for. However, I'm not super like invested in things like that. When it comes to consoles or computer parts or whatever, it's just like, just tell me what it does and then I'll go. Like, so it's like haptic feedback, adaptive triggers. Like I read that in Spider-Man Miles Morales, you can feel the direction of where an attack is coming from. So it's like, that's cool. The triggers lock if you're, I don't know, like stunned or something.
No, the triggers are gonna lock when your gun jams in death loop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that is a little bit of a thing where it's like, okay, like, and that sounds like it could easily be gimmicky and easily be very annoying.
You
know
can
what I'm
turn
saying?
that off, I'm sure.
Right? Yeah. That's a point that was made actually by Christian on JoyClicks when we were talking about this whole thing in terms of like, all of these are cool, but at the end of the day, due to accessibility, these are all gonna be toggles, or you would imagine at least. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it all is worthwhile and stuff like that. But the third thing was 3D audio, which of course is really cool to hear as well. No pun intended there, but pretty cool to hear that as well. But at least my take overall, they were very vocal on saying that like this is like a step one in terms of their marketing campaign for PS5 in terms of like the actual physical console. You know what I'm saying? And as we learn more about it, they'll be focusing on more in-depth stuff and do specific adverts to really bolster what PS5 is from a hardware perspective as well, and even the services level too, like in terms of how are they going to change up services, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, stuff like that. So I thought it was a pretty cool thing to put their first foot forward with. Even though to us hardcore, a lot of stuff is probably going to be like a lot of gimmicks. Did you hear that when you're doing a Venom punch in Miles Morales, you'll feel the electric crackle from the left of the controller to the right of the controller?
I didn't read that.
Yeah,
but
it's a thing.
Yeah, no, that sounds weird.
It definitely does. I think that with something that when they're talking about hardware that is supposed to appeal to the senses and like you're supposed to feel the haptic feedback and see how the triggers react to certain things in game and not feel but hear that 3D audio and stuff like that, that's obviously really hard to portray in a video upload, as opposed to showing off like a game's beauty and a game's graphical power. Like that's really easy to show off on video, so I think that like these very well may be just gimmicks, but I think if they're used in practice in first party, I think it could be really cool. It is what it is. I just think like overall, these are gimmicks that we see early gen. It is what it is. Just like the touchpad was for the PS4 era. How like now like just like a glorified option button or whatever. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. I'll keep it on and see how I like it. But what were you about to say? I'm sorry.
Definitely. But they did talk a little bit more about some other things that they were pretty candid about. So these quotes are from a GameIndustry.biz article where they talk a little bit more, speaking to the head of marketing at Sony, Eric Lempel. And he talks about the effects of PS5 release against COVID, right? So I did want to read some of these just to kind of just get a feel at how they are looking at this holiday season going into it, launching a console with COVID happening, right? Says here, quote, "It's a massive challenge on every front, not just the parts of the organization that I oversee, but for all parts of the organization. The nice thing is that we're pulling it together. We will launch this year, that will happen, and from my end, we will absolutely make sure that we will bring all the magic and all the excitement of launches that we've had in the past. If the world was in a normal place, we would be out there with the demo stations at different events, with the ability for consumers to touch the product and interact with it, and really understand what we are talking about. The challenge early on became how do we try to express this with a spot, and at the same time, how do we create a spot given the current limitations presented by the global pandemic? So this was a challenge on all fronts for us." So I think what's really the most pertinent thing here is that they double down and reiterate that, in spite of seeing Halo, if they get delay, that was a major thing, I feel like, because of course it was a Microsoft first party game, and the Series X, I feel like main, big IP that was going to debut for the Series X. Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like right now, even though there are rumbles of another major IP that will be at launch for PS5 that we don't know quite yet, I think right now the best equivalent is Miles Morales. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be like PS5 losing Miles Morales. Like, that would be, I think, a bit devastating, I think, to a degree,
Yeah.
But, I mean, definitely would be a would be a blow. But in spite of all that, they seem to be 100% doubling down on the fact that they are launching this year. Granted, they don't talk about games, but they are definitely launching the hardware this year as well, and it's been a challenge for them. So I like how at least they are very candid here. Seems like he was being straightforward, very honest and everything. Yeah, I mean, what do you think going into holiday season, like in terms of PS5? Like, are you, I don't know, I guess how I would phrase that. Just, do you have any thoughts on this quote right here by Eric Limpel?
It's very like I don't know. It's very business, but it still feels like genuine towards the people. It's just like, hey, yeah, like the way that it's like, yeah, like it is coming out, like don't worry. Like it seems like he's very like invested in Sony, like not or in the in Sony and on like for the PlayStation. Like it's not just like, hey, this is my job, so I have to make this sound good. It's like, hey, yeah, like we want to make this as good as possible considering the circumstances.
Right. And it is a very interesting challenge too in terms of like, how do you market that controller and all of its features that we just talked about on the digital front. You know what I'm saying? Like around this time, I'm sure we would have already had a GameStop kiosk, or a Walmart kiosk or a Best Buy kiosk of PS5 and Series X at this point. But now can't really do that. So it is interesting how they're at least being super honest about trying to navigate through this time and trying to still do marketing for the PS5 in spite of the times, for sure. But the other thing they did talk about as well in the same article was about some of the games that launch lineup, right? So he says here, quote, once you get beyond all other features of PlayStation 5, which makes it a true next generation product, it's about the content. He says that the games that are in launch window are beyond, that are at launch window and beyond is, quote, incredibly exciting. And he also goes on to say that it is, quote, the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of PlayStation. How do you feel about those are those just buzzwords, Arachnite? Are those just things that, of course they're going to say that? You know what I'm saying? And they also promise that there is more to come as well, in spite of just having Miles Morales and Horizon Forbidden West and stuff like that. So there's definitely more IP that we haven't heard about yet. But are you sold on this mantra of this being the best lineup you've ever seen in PlayStation history?
I don't believe they've ever said that with the PS4, to the extent of my knowledge. But
right.
even if they did, like, Sony, like, I feel like in the last console generation, like Sony and Microsoft have really like defined what kinds of games they want to release and what kinds of games that the consumer associates with them. Like Microsoft, when you think Microsoft, at least my personal like thoughts when I think of the Xbox are multiplayer games, like shooters and more multiplayer centered games, like more action. It's like if you want to play online or if you want to play just like a Gears game, like a Gears-esque game,
right,
you lean towards the Xbox. But if you want a more single player, story driven and like narrative experience, you lean towards the PlayStation.
Right.
So
right.
With this next generation, with both of them kind of like leaning into their own niches and their own styles of games they want to release on their consoles, like I believe Sony in saying that, like, oh yeah, this is the best lineup we've had so far. Because think of all the IPs that we had on the PS4 that we can reliably count on coming to the PS5 in the forms of sequels.
Yeah.
Because we had God of War, we had Lost Legacy, and if they choose to expand on that, like Ghost of Tsushima and Legends coming out soon, and if there's going to be a sequel. Like,
right.
We have a lot of like Game of the Year winners or contenders coming onto the next console generations. Like not even mentioning Forbidden West and Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2. Like I trust the comments in saying that this is going to be the best lineup we've had because we're already running like we're kicking out of the gate strong compared to the PS4 because the PS4 we've talked about had a weak lineup walking into the generation, and for the first few years it wasn't anything to write home about. But like we have like names and faces to look forward to. Like Miles Morales is something that I believe a good chunk of people are very excited about. Like I will be buying the PS5 at launch to play Miles Morales.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. No, like, and like I know there's a lot of like there's a conversation about how Miles Morales. There's talks that it could be on PS4, which I think would be an interesting choice, right? Like, I totally get why they would do that, because you don't want to, leave the 150 million PS4s just out to dry on a new Spider-Man. Get that too, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if they were to make the bold move as to put it on PS5, I think that would entice a lot of people to get a PS5. Like considering that Spider-Man was one of the best-selling games of PS4 generation. If not, I think out of the exclusives that came out this gen on PS4, I think it might be the top one. I think.
Did TLOT 2 pass it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, it's certainly not right now because Spider-Man's been out longer for sure.
Yeah.
But
at the current
I don't know. Yeah. At the current time, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, Spider-Man is definitely one of the biggest exclusives under PS4's belt for sure. Yeah. Like that was a massive hit. So having the continuation of that, although it's not the sequel, having this Lost Legacy-esque type of game is, I think, still gonna achieve the same success. I feel like, what I'm saying. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think there's a half and half here. Like, I think there is a mix of buzzwords like I mean, we're talking to the head of marketing. Yeah. So of course he has to market the PS5. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get that. But also, I mean, I feel like I would be shocked if he's wrong about this. I think. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if what we know now, like Miles Morales is looking to be day one. You know what I'm saying? I think Kenna, I believe, is also day one, which I think looks fantastic. Like there's a lot of really, really good games that and he doesn't even say day one. He says launch window. So that could be, the first 6 months of the release of PS5, which I still think, is a discussion to be had, even though they're not day one games. But I think that it'd be I think there's more of a chance that he's right on this than wrong, overall, like when you really look at it, when you really break it down. So I think we're in a very good spot in terms of PS5 heading into launch window and launch day and stuff like that. So overall, I think we're good. Oh, also to note, were you a fan of Demon's Souls?
I was, yeah. I hear that might be a launch title.
Yeah. So we got some, murmurs and stuff like that, and there's been some evidence to suggest and pretty much confirm that Bluepoint's Demon's Souls has been rated in some countries. I believe some of them. I think one of them was Korea. I forget the others, but I'm pretty certain one of them was Korea. But I know in some countries the game has already been given a rating, so that means it's already gone through certification and has already been submitted for a rating and received a rating in those countries, which could mean that this could be amongst the launch lineup for PS5, which I think would be a major thing. If they were to able to get if they are able to secure Demon's Souls and Miles Morales for day one, I think that's already huge in itself. Like those are two massive games that have massive followings behind them for sure. Especially Demon's Souls, this cult classic, for sure. Did not know you played Demon's Souls back in the day. Was not aware of that. Was not aware. Do you like it compared to the other Souls games? Like where does Demon's Souls rank for you?
It's definitely a lot clunkier, but it's also the first of many.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna list them all, but just for a quick breakdown, my favorite, along with I feel like a lot of people's favorites, is definitely Bloodborne.
Mm.
I really enjoyed Bloodborne. Dark Souls 3 was a lot of fun. Dark Souls 1 was a lot of fun. Um, didn't like 2 very much.
Okay.
And Demon Souls was good, but I was a lot younger when I played it. So
Right.
I was garbage.
I see. Interesting. Well, I'm sure you're excited for the Demon Souls remake for sure.
Yeah,
You know
I will
what I'm saying? I'm
definitely
sure
I
you
will
are.
definitely be picking it up.
You know what? I want to ask you one more thing before we move on to the main rigmarole of the show. You know what I'm saying? If you could assemble the perfect launch lineup for PS5, let's say I give you all the marketing, budget, all of the development time, all of the development money. You know what I'm saying? And if like you could have any launch lineup, what would your launch lineup be?
I like the only difference that I would do
Mm-hmm.
is like I like what they're doing. Like I like the difference in games because the PS4 lineup was just shooter and shooter and shooter and shooter. Like like this one has Demon Souls, which is a very different game to Miles Morales. And I haven't looked into the other games too carefully to know exactly what they are, but it sounds like a pretty diversified lineup for people, but you don't want to hit it too hard out of the gate. So, I know, like, if you really wanted to be bold, the only thing I would do is maybe, I don't know, take out Miles Morales and put in, like, Forbidden West or God of War 2. Like, it's just like, hey, this can't run on PS4 hardware. And God of War 2018 was critically acclaimed. Like if you told me God of War 2 was a PS5 exclusive launch day, I would still buy a PS5 launch day to play God of War 2.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no.
You're saying if like God of War 2 was launching on both PS4 and PS5,
No,
you would
God
still
of-
get a PS5? Or?
No, God of War 2 like exclusive PS5 launch day.
Oh my God, that would sell insane.
Yeah, like
That would sell out. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's the only difference like that I would do is you hit something really hard, like just like a home run right out of the gate, because some people are iffy on Miles Morales that I've read is because it's like a side story and not as long or as in depth as Spider-Man PS4. It's like, oh, like why would I buy a whole new console just to play what should be a DLC? Which is what I've seen people's arguments be. But
yeah, I've seen a lot about that, and like, here's like, the City That Never Sleeps is clearly a DLC.
yeah, it's very
Right.
very DLC.
That's 100% DLC, right? But I think that when you look to what they directly compared Miles Morales to, what they said, like the verbatim, their words were on the blog post, like a Lost Legacy type of experience.
Yeah.
Lost Legacy is a full-fledged Uncharted game. You know what I'm saying? All it is, it's just short. But honestly, a lot of people enjoy, like, there's a lot of people that say that they enjoy Lost Legacy more than any of the other Uncharted's because there is no, like, time for filler. Like, it's a non-stop action-packed experience that you can get in under 10 hours.
Right.
Like, I think like calling that a DLC, I don't know if we have to grow up as a industry and like figure out a term for a type of game like this. I know we've been throwing around like standalone game, which doesn't really define it, I feel like, but we have a lot of terms that don't define anything. Like, we call Metroidvania games, but like, what does that really mean? Like, that term doesn't really define it because you have to know what Metroid and what Castlevania was back in the day to really understand what that means. But we got to come up with something because, like, I think dismissing And I know some people don't mean to like use, oh, Miles Morales could have been a DLC as a dismissal, to its presumed quality, but I think that calling it a DLC is a little bit underselling it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Do you feel that way as well? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I mean, I love Lost Legacy, so like, I feel like if we're gonna get a Miles Morales Spider-Man game that is to that same ilk, I'm all in for it, and that doesn't scream DLC to me at all. Like Lost Legacy doesn't feel like DLC. It truly feels like its own game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I know of a few instances where the DLCs have become so expansive, where it's like, let's just make a whole other game.
Yeah, that's how Lost Legacy came to be.
Yeah, I know that a Hollow Knight, Silk Song, was intended to be a DLC, but they just had too many ideas.
Yeah.
I believe Breath of the Wild 2 was a DLC idea, and then they were just
really?
Yeah, and then it's just like, oh yeah, like, let's just make another game.
It makes sense. Yeah, I heard that same thing about Super Mario Odyssey, how they had other worlds planned, but then it's like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's just make a sequel. Like, what's the problem? Yeah. So, I feel that. I mean, definitely. I feel like the only thing that I really want to see that we haven't seen yet out of the PS5 first party, which is something that you, Chris, has the PS4 launch lineup for, is I think we need a shooter in here. You know what I'm saying? I think we need a really good, really well, and that's what I think is the unknown big IP that we've been hearing about the past few weeks. I think it's gonna be SOCOM, dude. I think that SOCOM is coming back. I think it'll be a direct competitor to Rainbow Six. I think that's what they're going for with SOCOM for launch on PS5. Maybe it launches on PS4 as well. Maybe we get some cross generational play and stuff like that. But I think that's happening. I don't know, but we shall see. But most importantly here, to run all these games, we need that good hardware. And I think I want to do this early on, because now we have them both laid out, that we know the PS5 specs, and we know the Series X specs, and I most importantly have the homie Rectank here, who knows hardware like no other. You know what I'm saying? So in front of us here, via Tom's Guide. Do you consider Tom's Guide a reputable source? I found him to be the most streamlined list of specs and stuff like that. But if you think I should have gone with another source,
No, I think it's a. There's no opinionation. That's a word. On hardware, because you can't say it's like, oh yeah, like. What's an example? Like, you can't say it's like, oh yeah, they have like 10 core 4 gigahertz. Like, you can just cross examine. It's like, oh, that's not right at all. Like, you can't lie about it.
Yeah, I guess at that point it's like, you can't
fact.
really lie about specs. Yeah, it's either factual or it's not. Yeah, fair point.
You can't. For those that aren't very knowledgeable on the specific details surrounding those specs, that leaves room for interpretation.
Right.
So the difference between definitive information and the context surrounding that information is what makes the difference. But no, yeah, I feel like it's a solid source, because I checked it with other sites, and it's the exact same thing, because it's hardware.
All right, sounds good. But of course, here we are going to compare and contrast the PS5 specs versus the Xbox Series X specs. Its main direct competitor, of course. Do you want to hit Xbox first, or do you want to hit PS5 first?
I don't see why we can't go bracket by bracket.
Let's go bracket by bracket
and discuss both of them simultaneously.
Very, very good point. We'll start at the top. Let's start with the old brain of the computer, as far as I can understand it, right? Which is CPU.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like the PS5 CPU has, it says 8x Zen 2 cores. I think that means 8 cores of Zen 2, right? Is that how you could also read that? Okay.
Yeah.
8 cores of Zen 2 at 3.5 gigahertz. Then the Series X has 8 cores of 3.8 gigahertz with the, I believe, same processor of the Zen 2. So, as far as I can read that, let me know if I'm wrong. It looks like those are both the same processors, just Series X is clocked at a little bit of a higher frequency.
So with CPUs like that, which is same processor CPU, so the gigahertz, of course, like the first thing you notice is the higher number for the Xbox. And
Right.
what people have been discussing for as long as these specs have been out is the Xbox Series X's power.
Right.
And across the board, like from what I've been seeing and what I've been reading, is like, yeah, the Xbox Series X does have more power behind it. But you can, like, what we've been seeing in the last console generation is that, and what we saw with Halo Infinite, is that you can have a beast of a computer, because that's all consoles are. They're just specialized computers. But if you don't know how to use the computer and you don't know how to optimize the computer, then you just have a fancy brick with a lot of expensive parts in it.
Yeah. That was actually a question I asked the audience, which of course you can check back on the @PSVids Twitter, link below in the description, to kind of participate in the weekly polls I do that pertain to the discussion at hand. We'll be talking about here. So I did ask the audience on Twitter, does the specs and the power of the PS5 matter to you? My two options that you could vote for were yes, I need all the frames, and no, let the game speak for themselves, right? And let the if the games are good, if the games run at high quality, then the specs are really irrelevant, right? And with 65% of the vote went to no, let the game speak. 35% went to yes, I need all the frames. So it's definitely not a blowout, but there's definitely a significant margin of people that want the games to speak, disregarding the specs of the PS5. Which I think was what you were trying to say as well. That the Series X, it definitely is a powerhouse, but its software did not match that for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Would you call the CPU a? Because I do want you to also kind of discuss in a way, are these acceptable for a modern console? Do you feel like because of course there's way better PCs, but
no, absolutely. I think so. With the Xbox Series X, it's stronger across the board. But the difference, the questions that leave a lot of people thinking is how much is this thing gonna cost?
Right.
Because Sony, what we talked about last week, is that with the PS3, selling it for $599 was not a great idea.
Nope.
At the time, the hardware was impressive. It was something to take note of, but they went too hard too soon. And so they had to release it at a price point that was economically viable for the company. So,
well, if you recall, actually, the PS3 at $600 was still selling at a loss.
Yeah, exactly.
When it first came out, which is wild to think about. That's insane.
So $600, they built something powerful, but it wasn't viable for the average consumer, because especially at the time, I know that my family was not in a position to buy a $600 console.
Definitely not.
So, and especially these days with the situation, the global situation, I know that there are a majority of families that aren't in a position to spend $600 on the Series X if that's how much it's going to cost. Because if the numbers for the PS5 are right, and it's going to be like what, $499, what we talked about.
Yeah. So the I think agreed rumor is $499 standard, $399 digital.
Yeah. So I can't imagine how much the Xbox Series X is going to cost unless they want to sell for a significant loss, like take a gamble on it.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of $599 for the Series X. Like, oof, man. But I've been seeing, on the contrary, $299 for the Series S, which would be a very interesting, two extremes where it's like PlayStation gets the inner numbers, the $399, $499, while Xbox takes the two outer numbers at $599 and $299.
So, to the extent of my knowledge, the Series S, for lack of a better phrase, mimics the digital edition of the PS5, right? There's no difference in hardware, just no disk drive.
I think there is a hardware difference, and I've been hearing also that it'll be very similar in specs to the Xbox One X without a disk drive.
So just a slight jump up, but still next gen.
Yeah, I mean, a slight jump down, I guess.
Well, jump up from the Xbox One X.
Oh, yeah, I think. I've been hearing that it's going to be very, very similar specs to the Xbox One X. Like, it might be the same specs.
Then what's the point of buying the new console?
I don't know. I mean, the Series X is going to be more powerful, but
yeah,
but
but like if it's almost the same as the Xbox One X, then why would you even bother with the Series S?
Who knows? Oh, like the Series S. Wait, I'm all confused now.
Okay,
Wait,
so
the Series S.
So the Series S, from what you
Right.
just mentioned,
Uh-huh.
is, and from our realm of understanding with the information that we have, almost identical to the Xbox One X.
Yes, the Series S is supposed to equate to the One X. Yes.
So for those with the Xbox One X, why would you bother buying the Series S?
Oh, now that's what you're saying. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like, it almost is. I don't know. Like,
And that might be wrong. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
even sure if that's even true. Like, to be fair,
but within the realm of our understanding and from the information that we have, like, this could be outdated, this could be wrong, but from what we're talking about at this current juncture, like, it doesn't make sense, like, for the consumer. Because, like, even if I was just full Xbox, like, I just want the Xbox, whatever, why bother? Like, I already have the Xbox, the Xbox One Pro. I'm not gonna call it the X Series X. It's the Pro. Like, so, I already have the Pro version of the original console. Why would I buy the next gen version of the same console? It's the same console. I just have to spend $300 again. It doesn't seem. Yeah,
right.
There's no point. At that point, I might as well just save and buy the Series X.
Well, I think that would be the avenue of what they would incline you to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think. But then again, it's not like the clerk is gonna tell you that. When you're purchasing, like, it's not like Amazon's gonna put up a warning sign like, hey, like, you're buying similar hardware for no reason.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's just like, hey,
so.
give us your money. If you don't want to read about it, that's on you.
That can entirely be wrong by all means.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I really don't know. Yeah, but
the PlayStation 5, like, is very streamlined for just getting it within that acceptable price range after they made the mistake with the PS3.
right.
Because
Yeah.
I haven't taken too deep of a look on the PS4 specs, so I can't really compare and contrast. But I know that I've read that the Xbox Series X is twice as powerful as the Xbox One.
Which that sounds like a big jump for sure. It sounds
Yeah,
like a big jump for sure.
it like when you hear twice as powerful, especially within the last 7 years between the consoles. Yeah, it is a jump, but there are also like, okay, so I'm so there's this thing called Moore's law, right?
I do. Yep, I do recall that.
Yeah, Moore's law is that computer power doubles every 18 months. It's 18 months, a year and a half. It's been 7 years since the last console generation. But you also have to account for the depreciation of computer parts. So with the Xbox Series X and the PS5, these are like not standard. What's the word I'm looking for? These are, for lack of a better phrase, acceptable for the price range. Because $500 for a computer, a specialized computer, is a good price. Like, that's solid. Especially with some of the details surrounding the storage and the I/O like throughput. It's very, very solid. Like because I know that the PS5 has a 5.5 gigabyte a second raw and 8 to 9 gigabytes a second compressed I/O throughput. So, an I/O throughput generally means the data transfer speed in megabytes per second. So, it means how fast can this computer process the information in load times.
Right.
Because the load times, like what we see in on a graph in the doc that we referred to, is the target speed is 2 gigabytes and 0.27 seconds compared to the 1 gigabyte and 20 seconds compared to the PS5's like HDD. Yeah. So for anybody listening that doesn't know the difference between an HDD, a hard drive, to an SSD, a solid state drive, is that an SSD doesn't need it doesn't need to be defragmented. It doesn't need to be optimized in order to efficiently get information to process. Right. Its entire point, which is why it's more expensive, is to be a solid state drive. Its entire purpose is to make sure that information is transferred as quickly as possible, which is why when you build a computer, it's it is recommended to have a solid state drive for your operating system so that your computer boots up faster. Because there's sorry.
I was saying, might as well just get right into the SSD comparison. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just laid out real quickly. The PS5 has a custom SSD, has 825 gigabytes, as opposed to the Xbox Series X, which I believe has a pretty standard SSD. I think is what we're looking at. It says custom NVMe SSD that's 1 terabyte. So they got the edge in terms of capacity. But the big talk, of course, is that the PS5 has a very, very custom SSD that is allowing it to do crazy speeds. We're looking at a graph that compares the PS4 hard drive to the PS5's SSD, and it looks like in terms of bandwidth, it was 5 to 100 megabits on the PS4 side as opposed to PS5, which would be 5 gigabytes at least a second. The seek time is going to be instantaneous on the PS5 as opposed to the PS4, which is 2 to 50 milliseconds, and the load time, the PS4 hard drive is 1 gigabyte in 20 seconds. As opposed to the PS5, which is 2 gigabytes in 0.27 seconds. So, a fifth of a second, it can load double the amount of data that the PS4 hard drive could, which is wild.
I recall reading that the I/O should be about 100 times faster than the PS4.
Yeah, that's gonna be a real snappy. I mean, at least on paper, it seems really snappy for sure. But you may continue.
Yeah, no. So no worries. So without going into too much techno babble, there are the SSD and how the like the flash controller and the custom units in the main ship, and how it allows for 6 levels of priority, which lets devs choose which game assets are loaded first. Like what's the hardest to load, and then go with what's easiest, so it's very streamlined, like it's very focused on what it wants to do. There's a custom decompressor, there's a dedicated DMA controller, like we mentioned, the IO coprocessors, the RAM pool, and the coherency engine. So there's a lot of techno babble. It's just
Definitely.
like it's very, very powerful in what it does. Like we said, like it's a custom SSD designed to be as efficient as possible in order to get things loading as quickly as possible, which I'm very, very curious on what they can do, considering Ghost of Tsushima and what we talked about on the road to Ghost of Tsushima, that they literally had to slow down the load time so people could read the hints and the tips.
Yeah, that is insane, because like the base PS4, it was like that as well. No, you have a base PS4 for Ghost, and it was loading insanely. Yeah, even with my Pro, it was loading crazy fast. But even on the base PS4, it was loading just as fast, I feel like, at least from what I've heard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like I know there was a lot of talk with. Of course, if you want a bigger, in-depth talk about the specifications, definitely go to Mark Cerny. His Road to PS5 video is insanely good. And he goes into a lot about how like the PS5's SSD is going to fundamentally change game development as a whole, in terms of allowing games to be smaller in size, because they're not having to duplicate many different assets, so that it can load faster. How they can just have one asset in one file, and they can always reference that file, and it doesn't take forever to do that. And they are presuming that it's going to fundamentally change not only game development, but the way games are made and how they are formatted in terms of like an open world. We probably won't have those when you're playing God of War and you have to climb up something, or you have to squeeze in a tight space to get through the next map. While you're doing that's a loading screen.
Yeah.
They just hide the loading screen in that ways. So they're saying that will be no more, and they're going to be able to make more fuller worlds. Not only bigger, but more full on the insides and stuff like that, and not have to use those hidden loading screens and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to be cool to see how games change, especially from like a God of War point of view, from like God of War 2018 to the next one, God of War Ragnarok, whatever it's called. You know what I'm saying? Like, to see that jump and see the differences in that way is going to be very impressive, I feel like. And we'll definitely see the bigger benefits in first party with the SSD. I don't think we'll see it in third party that much, but
yeah,
it's going to be cool. Definitely going to be cool.
I remember seeing a breakdown on how Horizon Zero Dawn and a lot of games deal with loading an open world like that, how it only loads what is immediately in the camera view.
Yeah.
And then it loads as you rotate the camera, and like unloads.
Disappears.
Yeah. Unloads what's out of your field of view. So seeing that, I am very excited to see what they do, and I don't mind the hidden loading screens, but it's just like when it's so often, like in Fallen Order.
Right.
Like Jedi Fallen Order had a lot of those.
Yeah, I feel that.
So I don't mind them. It's definitely not. It's if you're focused on immersion, it definitely is better than just walk to a door, hit, I don't know, triangle, and then wait for a loading screen for a few seconds, and then go to the next segment, like Resident Evil on the first PlayStation.
That, or like an elevator.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, definitely. But,
there's definitely a jump in what is focused on with the PS5 compared to the Series X. Like,
for sure.
I know that a lot of people, like, when they immediately jump to this, like, my teraflops or my SSD, like when they talk about like which console is better. Like they're both impressive consoles. Like the Series X especially, like if they can find a way to make it economically viable for the common consumer, I'm interested to see what they price it as. But my bet on that is $599, which is a gamble. It is a gamble. I with here's a question that I just thought of. Switch the specs.
Okay.
You get everything on the Series X and you put it on the PS5.
Okay.
Is that better to you?
At least the way. Okay, so, I mean, Mark certainly definitely sold me on the SSD speed,
Yeah.
and like that was a big thing that like he's like, no, like look, like here's why this is going to be a big deal. You know, why we really like, went out to devs and talked to them about like, okay, like what would you want us to make to give you the hardware to work on for your upcoming games in the future? Like, what would a developer want, right?
Speed.
And at least at least the way they explain it, like speed, I think that they really did a great job at selling me on like what, okay, like here's why we're dedicating so much, even though we will talk about a little bit later how like our GPU doesn't seem to be as powerful as the Series X, but here's why the SSD matters a lot. And it's something that I always knew fundamentally, like what an SSD was and stuff like that, back in the day, whatever. Like, and I've always understood it, but I never knew the effects it could really have in terms of game development and the format of games and how they could change games for, as a whole. So, I think the SSD is really a big part of it moving forward for sure. Amongst a bunch of other things, of course, but
Yeah, of course.
But definitely that SSD would be kind of interesting to see Xbox get and hear them talk about in that way, But
as what I went for when I made my computer or when I built my computer was speed. Like that was what I was focusing on primarily. Like
Right.
so I definitely understand the the dev aspect. Like I'm not a game developer. I don't know the in and outs of the system. But just for somebody who enjoys computers and somebody who was when I was building my computer, I built it with a friend of mine, and he was like, when we were looking for parts, it's like, what do you want? And it's like,
Right.
I want speed, but I also don't want to dig a financial hole.
yeah. The best bang for your buck speed.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Speaking of that, talking about the GPU, right? You brought up teraflops before. We've gone over the CPU, gone over the storage. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at the GPU because there's gonna be some differences here for sure. So on the PS5 side, we have 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs. Remind me what CUs are.
CUs are compute units.
Compute units. Okay.
Yeah, or control units.
Okay.
So it's a component of a computer's CPU that directs the processor. It directs how
Okay.
it moves or how how the operation goes, and it tells the memory, the arithmetic, and the logic unit on how to respond to the instructions.
Gotcha. Okay. And it looks like it's gonna be clocked at 2.23 gigahertz RDNA 2 architecture as well. Then on the Xbox side, we have 12 teraflops, AMD RDNA 2. That's all we get. So we don't get the amount of control units. We don't get the gigahertz at least
52.
here on this one.
52.
Oh, thank you. How'd you know that?
I went to a few other sites when
Beautiful.
when you showed me the doc because like you mentioned, this is more streamlined, just so that you can get a numbers difference. So
Gotcha.
So I went to GameSpot and I checked a few other sites on the specs for a more detailed breakdown on the differences
Perfect.
between the PS5 and Series X.
Perfect. Well, okay, so they have 52 control units. So it's pretty safe to say that the GPU is stronger on the Series X, like, for sure. Right?
Right. It's just like what we mentioned, the gigahertz on the PS5 is faster. There's less of them, but they're faster.
Is the GPU clocked at a lower speed on the Series X?
Like the gigahertz. Yeah, the PS5 is at 36, clocked in at a variable frequency of 2.23 gigahertz.
Right.
While the Series X is 52 CUs, clocked in at 1.825 gigahertz.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was waiting for the 1.25 gigahertz. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so there's more control units, more teraflops on the Series X side, but the PS5 is quicker.
Yes.
With less. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So and the teraflops, like 10 to 12 is about a 2 difference. So it's nothing to scoff at, but it's not that significant. I don't feel
Right.
like no disrespect to those that are interested in the Xbox or all that, but it doesn't seem like too much of a jump in power. Like, obviously there is an increase in power in the Series X, and that the Series X will perform better in a hardware like aspect, especially with accelerated ray tracing.
Right.
And it'll operate better at a high resolution and frame rate. But it's managing those components to get it like a smooth experience, because we've had instances where it's like, yeah, this game has a high graphic fidelity, but it doesn't run well. So there's a lot of optimization that needs to go down, or it's like it runs great, it looks great, but the load times suck.
Right. On paper, right, looking at both GPUs, you detailed to me that there's 36 control units at 2.23 gigahertz on the PS5, and there's 52 CUs at 1.25 gigahertz on Series X, right? So we have less CUs on the PS5, but faster CUs, as opposed to more CUs on the Series X, but they're slower. Which one do you prefer, and why? If you could answer that.
The 36.
Okay.
So rasterization, just a quick definition on rasterization, is the task of taking an image described in a vector graphics format, shapes, and converting it to an image, which is pixels, dots, and lines displayed together. So
okay.
You create,
I do know that process from Photoshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Polygons to pixels.
Gotcha.
So it's faster. The command buffer is faster. There's a higher bandwidth. It's easier to use 36 in a parallel, and it's cheaper. However, the system memory is further away in terms of cycles. It requires more heat and power, and it needs a more expensive cooling system in order to avoid the jet engines that some people have been dealing with on the PS4.
Okay, gotcha. So we're and that's where the rumors comes in about the PS5 having like a water cooling system, allegedly.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Is because of this faster frequency.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I see. Interesting. Okay. I'm learning a lot. There we go. Okay. I like this. Okay. And I guess the last thing I want to ask about the GPU is that, like, so in like a real world scenario, like in a real world case, what is the difference between having 36 at 2.23 versus 52 at 1.25? Like, how does it look in game, I guess you could say? Like is there a main difference that we're gonna see? Probably not, of course, like straight up in like every game, but like from just an explanation standpoint, like what is the benefit and drawback of each, I guess? You know what I'm saying? Like what would be the differences in that?
So having more CUs will likely give the edge to the Series X on a hardware standpoint.
Okay.
like I mentioned with accelerated ray tracing and high resolutions and frame rates. So just to the common eye, like just going off of graphical fidelity, the Xbox Series X does have the edge.
Right.
So there is a quote from Extreme Tech on the original PS4 versus Xbox One. So it's like the PS4's GPU is on paper 50% more powerful than the Xbox One, but the Xbox One's slightly higher GPU clock speed pronouncing words are hard, ameliorates some of the difference. But really, the PS4's 50% higher compute unit count is a serious advantage for the Sony camp. So having more of them, albeit slower, is still more powerful. So it's really a question on whether you'd want higher optimization or would you rather have a higher graphical fidelity.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Look at that. Look at that. I chose the right guy because I would have never gone this in depth. I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about. So you love to see it. Moving on to something that I know a little bit more about. A little bit more, of course. Let's talk about the good old RAM. You know, they both seem to be the same RAM as far as on here. Maybe there's more differences that you have found, perhaps, but
no, they're the same.
Yeah, they both look to be 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, which I know the big contention with the PS4 and Xbox One, if I remember correctly, because I actually did a school assignment where I compared the PS4 and the Xbox One leading up to launch. Actually,
You'll have to see it.
I remember that I think the Xbox One was GDDR3. And the PS4 was either GDDR4 or GDDR5. And one of them was better for processing graphics, while the other was better at processing something else. I forget. Crap. I forgot what it was. But I know there was a difference in the RAM on last gen, but it looks like now they're both using the same one. Which 16 gigs sounds like a great step up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I did that recently with my iMac. I was editing on an 8 gigabyte RAM iMac like 2 years ago. I got a 16. Boys, let me tell you, it's a world of a difference. It feels a lot better. It feels nice.
Yeah,
it feels very, very good.
With RAM, I on my old computer I ran at like a smooth 16. Like 16 is very serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just the ability to run multiple processes at the same time.
Right.
Like loading and processing and just making sure that your computer doesn't like freak out if you have a game running and Google open at the same time, because Google Chrome eats RAM.
Oh yes, it does. Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
With my new computer, I have 32 gigabytes compared to the 16.
Mm-hmm.
And as you increase, like just for what I do, like games, like there isn't too much of a difference unless I'm playing like Modern Warfare. Then it's nice to have more.
Right.
But 16 gigs is definitely a good choice, especially for a price standpoint. 16 gigs is definitely the recommended amount for just about any computer, unless you're building a specialized computer for video editing or like rendering. Like it's definitely what you want to go for. So I think 16 gigabytes was the right choice.
Definitely. The two last things they bring up was external storage. So on the PS5 it says there's an extra NVMe, I believe, SSD slot. I think is what they're getting at here,
yeah,
or just
expandable.
Yeah. So there's an extra slot. It looks like where you can put another SSD. And it looks like you can either do a USB 3.2 external hard drive support, and I don't think. Well, yeah. For the Series X, it says that you can do a USB 3.2 external hard drive support, which I think that means that it won't have an extra slot.
So I see on the GameSpot article, it has a 1 terabyte Microsoft expansion card slot for the source.
Oh, I did forget about that. Yeah, no, yeah, they are doing a proprietary slot that's going to be on the back of the console. I do remember that. Yeah, it looks like you know what it looks like. Honestly, it
What?
looks like Oh my god. Do you know the cartridges that Tony would take out of his arc reactor in Iron Man 2?
I believe
That were
so,
all.
yeah. The gross palladium ones.
Yeah, those. It looks like that. It looks like that's what you'll be sliding into your Series X.
That's cool.
Yeah. It looks like a little bit smaller than like a deck of cards card. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so it'll have that. I thought that they said that the PS5 will also support external hard drives. I thought they said that too because I mean the PS4 does.
Yeah, no,
So-
I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah. So it looks like with the PS5 side, you will be able to get seemingly an aftermarket SSD. I know they talked a lot about how like they're gonna we are gonna have to make sure that the SSDs like meet a certain protocol and meet a certain clock speed and stuff like that for the SSD to be compatible with the PS5. I know like there's gonna be a specific thing like that we'll have to abide by.
Yeah.
But you will be able to get an SSD third party aftermarket if you'd like, and install it directly into the PS5 seemingly with that extra slot. And I presume honestly it's not on here. I presume that you will be able to also hook up a PS5 external hard drive and just rock it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that'd be weird if that wasn't there. Just like the Series X, where you can do that, but it looks like you'll have a proprietary like back slot to put in a Microsoft bought, SSD expansion, which could be pricier.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That definitely could be pricier.
Yeah, like y'all remember the Vita cards? How 32 gigabytes of a was 32 or 64? I think it was 30. It might be 64. I forgot which one I have in my Vita right now. But nonetheless, they're insanely priced. Like insane. You know what? While you say what you were gonna say, I'm gonna look up Vita memory cards to get a little gist of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, the only thing that I could see is like, oh yeah, you can use a third-party HDD at the sacrifice of load times because you'll be loading from the hard drive instead of the SSD from the console directly.
So right now on Amazon, directly from Sony, you can buy a 64 gigabyte PlayStation Vita memory card for $184 with $7.99 shipping.
Whack.
That is garb. Yeah, that was a big downside with the Vita. They started making those proprietary memory cards, unlike the PSP that you could use Memory Stick Duo. You can use any memory card that you had that's standard across the board, whatever. But the Vita, they went with proprietary, which was of course one of the reasons why the Vita's dead. Unfortunately, hate to see it, but.
Hate to see it.
But yeah, so proprietary definitely is scary on the Series X side for sure. I think that people are going to get a lot of sticker shock on that standpoint if history repeats itself. But it does look cool, though. It does look like a cool little Iron Man 2 arc reactor thing looking card. But I die. And both of them, of course, will be sporting a 4K optical Blu-ray drive, which I guess Sony is happy about because, of course, they get a little cut of every Series X sold, just like they've gotten a cut of every Xbox One sold this generation, with Microsoft having to pay them to use their Blu-ray technology. So,
yeah.
So that's all fine. I'm sure Sony's still happy about that,
With,
and yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I never understood the need for like a proprietary. Words are hard. You know what I'm talking about.
Proprietary,
Yes,
stuff.
thank you. So, I like the Switch. You can just use any SD card and just throw it in there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And just get as much space as you want without having to worry about it. Which is like Nintendo isn't usually consumer oriented, so that was surprising.
Yeah, what's sad is that I got my 128 gigabyte off of Fat Kid Deals on Amazon for
Shout out Fat Kid Deals.
Oh, big ups to Fat Kid Deals, 10 out of 10. Oh my god. If y'all don't follow Fat Kid Deals, y'all need to do so. Fat Kid Deals is the one. But I got 128 gigs, I think for like $22. You know, so I got double the amount of storage on my Switch in 2019, and in 2020 right now, you can get literally half of that for like what? How many times? Or what? Like six, 7 times the price on the Vita. Like that's the cost of cost of proprietary.
You said it was $180. That's 9 times.
9 times. I mean 6, 7. Like I wasn't doing whatever. Like yeah, like a lot of times over. A lot of times over. You know, that's insane. And I fear that that's what may. And granted, different circumstances, of course. Like maybe, you know, you can make the argument that the Vita wasn't the most popular console. You know, so that would have probably driven prices more higher for sure and stuff like that. But, you know, it is what it is. Proprietary tends to be more expensive for sure across the board. So, I think other than that, I think that's all the specs we talked about. I mean, I can't think of another spec that we could compare. One's white, the other one's black. You know,
the dimensions are unknown.
Yeah, we don't know the dimensions. We know one is looking like a
fridge.
We got a fridge, and we got
a router.
A router versus the fridge. You know, what I'm saying, in form factor. But yeah. So overall, I guess if we were, I guess the last thing I'll ask you, right, that before we start heading out, you know what I'm saying, if we took off the labels of, hey, this is PS5, this is Series X, on paper, which one would you go for?
PS5.
That spec list overall?
Yeah, like
okay.
There is like it's the speed that I like look for whenever I do builds or whenever I'm looking for consoles nowadays. It's definitely what I am interested in when I'm trying to like make sure that I have everything that I need, because
gotcha.
Even if the games don't look as good, which honestly after the PS4, like I have no worries that the games are gonna look just as good, if not better. Thank you, Craig. So, on the PS5, like I have no worries surrounding any of that, but the speed is what really makes the difference, because like I do like okay, I'm gonna keep it honest. Like I know I've talked about it. It's like, yeah, like I like playing games at the hardest difficulty. I like having a challenge. I get my ass kicked a lot. It's bad.
No, like, King, you're a god at gaming. Stop it. I refuse to believe that you die a lot.
God of War 2018, the Muspelheim trials. Give Me God of War are garbage. It's like, wow, I go down in like 4 hits. That's great.
Damn.
So it's faster loading times are always appreciated, especially on like no upgrade runs like I'm doing on Ghost of Tsushima. So it's like, oh look, I have to fight like 100 Mongols at the same time, and I have a level 1 sword and like no armor.
I have to solely defend Komoda Beach.
Yeah, using a slingshot and hope.
And the will of a samurai.
Yeah, so it's like I get thrown around sometimes. So it's like it's better to have to wait like 1 to 2 seconds to get back in and get my ass kicked again, compared to I have to wait 20 seconds every time I die.
Right. Unlike, of course, Jedi Fallen Order, which
you had to wait 20 seconds anyway.
Literally sit through like episode 4 every time, you know.
I got so angry playing Fallen Order because it would just say respawn. It's like, yes, I know who made the game. Just get it over with. Come on. Yes, I know. You made the game. Your name's Respawn. I get it. It's cheeky. Can we get to the game? Because I'd be fighting the second sister, and it's like, come on, I don't care anymore. I'm so sick of seeing this one word.
For real, my boy. Well, I thought this was a great conversation. You know, I feel like a lot of people are gonna find value in terms of like looking at it from the nitty gritty, from a specs perspective of the PS5 versus the Series X. What you might be getting this holiday season. Even though, of course, we are more obviously gonna probably get the PS5. Yeah. Definitely PlayStation channel, PS5. You know what I'm saying, but I feel like it's better to get the lay of the land in terms of comparison on both these boxes for sure. But for all your other thoughts on PS5, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter at Orly_Macias. I am on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheArachnite. I may do some videos, or I may just stream some games and just talk about things while I play. Like, the games aren't really a priority because I don't know. Like, whenever I play games, I've seen your streams, and it's just I have trouble doing I don't want to be inauthentic, so it's it's hard for me. It's whoa, that's reactions, vivid, noticeable reactions. Yo, that's cool. Well, that's boring.
Right. I see.
Yeah, so
I feel that.
the only times that I've ever done the last time I recalled doing just a vivid reaction was just, do you remember in Spider-Man PS4 when Peter tried to stop the train and then he used the webs? That worked last time, and I remember just laughing because Spider-Man 2 is my favorite movie. I appreciated the callback. But yeah, no, I am on Twitch. I plan on streaming soon. I'm just waiting for the second monitor to come in so I can talk to chat. So
perfect.
And I don't know, I'll probably just stream Doom. I reinstalled
Perfect.
Doom Eternal or The Division or something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I will be talking about the PS5 on there, and as my thoughts on what I'm reading and as news comes out, and definitely you can catch us here. I am on the Discord, on the PlayStation Store's Discord, where we all talk about any and all things PlayStation gaming, just very, very chill, whatever you're playing, whatever you want to talk about. We have the people and the the different channels to talk about it. So definitely hop on there if you're not already there. It's a good time.
Of course, links down below in the description for the Arachnites links, as well as, of course, here on YouTube.com/PlayStation Source, as well as your favorite podcast services, where you can get this Road to PS5 show by hitting the anchor link down below in the description to follow us and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, and other major podcast services by just searching PlayStation Source podcast feed to support the show. Of course, you can like and subscribe, as well as become a member of the channel by hitting the join button or the link in the description to get that Prince tier or the King tier member for $1 and $5 respectively. Much appreciated to you. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Bashful Brody. Shout out to Owen as well. And shout out to everyone here that is supporting PlayStation Source content in the future as we march on towards PS5 release. Follow us down below in the description as well to see our Discord, our Twitter, Anchor link as well, and all that great stuff. And definitely follow that Twitter, because I am putting out polls every week about the topic at hand. You know what I'm saying? So we're definitely going to keep it going on that standpoint. But that's been episode 2. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Stay safe out there. Wear your mask. Drink your water. You know what I'm saying? Like the video, as well as hit subscribe to PlayStation Stories to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching. And as always, greatness waits.
waits.
Cheers.